Hello, I'm Zach with Hoylu. For those of you that aren't familiar with Hoylu, Hoylu is a visual collaboration tool that helps promote productivity and team engagement during remote meetings. Hoylu can be used for an endless amount of use cases, but today I'd like to focus on a specific use case for Agile teams called PI planning. The goal of this video isn't to give you a full training on how to use the tool for PI planning. It's really to show you what's possible and give you a general idea of functionality. Before the pandemic, teams would meet in person and use whiteboards and sticky notes to do their PI planning. Obviously, over the past year or so, that has changed and teams have had to reinvent themselves, and that's where Hoylu comes in. So today, let's start by showing you how easy it is to import tickets into Hoylu. And those tickets can come from a variety of different sources. The most common ones I would say would be Jira, version 1, now called Agility, or Azure DevOps. So to import tickets or stories, what I would do is I would open up a PI planning module workspace. Now you won't be able to import tickets in anything but a PI planning workspace. Just want to be clear about that one. So I'm just going to start from scratch. We're not going to worry about naming it, and we're not going to worry about the number of iterations. We'll click continue. And when I open this up, I'll have a blank canvas, and I'll also have this default template. Now, if you don't like this template, it can be customized. We have a drawer of other templates, or you can import your own. All of those options are available to you. Now, the other thing that you'll notice right off the bat is if you're familiar with Hoylu, you know that this is your toolbox, but there's one additional item on here, which is your inbox. So if I click open the inbox, it says drop a CSV file onto the workspace to import tasks. So go to your tool of choice, export to a CSV file. If it exports to an Excel file, you just have to open it and save it as a CSV file. And then you just simply drag and drop like the prompt says. So here I have a CSV file. I'm going to click, drag, and drop, and it'll open up this dialog box prompting me to map out my fields. By default, you can see we have our title, ID, points, owner, team description, and I can even add links to the notes. If you wanted to adjust how the mappings work, this is where you would do it, but by default, this is how it comes, so we'll stick with that. I click import, and in less than a second, all of my tickets are in my inbox, and I can go ahead and start to bring them into the workspace. In this instance, we're going to bring them into this template, and I'll show you a couple things on how this template works. So you can see it's snap to grid, pretty straightforward there. As I move them around, they'll automatically retile themselves. Now, if I click on the dots in the bottom right corner, I can open up the ticket. If there's more detail to learn about the description or additional information you have in here, you'll be able to scroll through that. I can also click on the note and change the color if I wanted specific colors to mean specific things, perhaps maybe a dependency or whatever it may be. So you have the ability to do that. Now I can also create dependencies by simply clicking on the pin and dragging to another note's pin, and you can see a line's connected. Now, another cool feature is if your board gets really crowded and you're trying to figure out what these dependencies are, all you have to do is click on a note and it'll highlight whichever the dependencies may be. So you have a good visual as opposed to trying to follow the line and kind of see the forest through the trees. So that's just a very quick overview of how to import stories into Hoylu. Now what I'd like to do is take you through an example of what a PI planning workspace could look like. It'll be a sanitized version, but hopefully it'll give you a sense of what one could look like. To give you some perspective, what we're looking at here is just a template, right? It's a single page with a background, and we're moving tickets around that background. What I'm going to show you is a workspace that has more than just one template, right? Because for those that are familiar with PI planning, it's a multi-day event. Typically, there's a variety of different activities. It's not just iteration planning. There's a lot that goes into it. And with Hoylu, you have the digital real estate to lay out the workspace however you'd like to accommodate what works best for your team. So if I zoom out here, we'll just kind of quickly go through this example. Typically, you have an agenda up here. And then in this instance, we have an icebreaker to get people familiar with the tool and get them interacting and engaged. We also have our iteration boards for the 3 specific teams. And above those teams, you'll see we also have an area for what we call on deck, or sort of like a backlog, whereas maybe perhaps leading up to the event, you know that these particular stories are going to need to be planned. You don't know where they're going to fall, but you want to just have them in the workspace. You can go ahead and get this done so your team's nice and organized for when you come in. You already have a bunch of stories that are available to move around. You have the iteration boards. And then if I come over here, you can see we have an example of a program board showing upstream and downstream dependencies between all 3 teams. And as I showed you before, it's simple to connect them up so you can visualize what those dependencies are. A few other common things that we might see, and these are these templates down here, or program level objectives, risk and ROM, retrospective, and a fist of 5s. And these are all standard templates to Hoylu, but if you don't like them or you want to customize them, you can do so, and you can also bring in your own. So just taking a look at the retro for a second, the beauty of using Hoylu for a retrospective is it's very quick and efficient. In a matter of seconds, I can take the temperature of the entire team and we can move forward. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process. So right now I'm in this workspace with my colleague, Ashley, and I'm bringing in notes. She's bringing in notes. You can imagine if there was 50 people in here, how quickly you could fill this up. Not only can I take the temperature of individual thoughts, but I can even capture my team's thoughts on what the team is thinking overall. So for example here, let's say I think an action item is we need to spend more time on product testing. And let's say my colleague Ashley agrees with me. What she could do, she could go to our emoji drawer in the toolbox. She could take a thumbs up and simply drag it on to the note, and it would automatically tally. So I can get a sense really quickly for what the team is thinking. And if she disagrees, again, you could just take a thumbs down. So you have that flexibility, which is quite nice. Same thing coming over to this fist of 5, right? The point of this is to take the temperature of the team and see what their confidence level is on the plan that you've created. Typically, we see people just throwing in emojis in the column, and it'll be more of like just a general sense. Okay, there's more emojis in this column than the other, so that's kind of where we think the plan is. Or some RTs prefer to know exactly what people are thinking, so they'll have folks drop in their names on sticky notes, just so they know where, let's say Ashley was with the plan, or Zach was with the plan. So say, Zach, I'm in a 5. So that's common. Something that you're probably already also thinking is, well, how do you get these templates into the workspace? So if I come over here to a blank page, keep an eye on my toolbox here. When I hit this overview button, the toolbox will change. It'll give me a template drawer and a timer. Timer is pretty straightforward. Start the timer, it counts down, keeps everyone on track, whoever's in the workspace. So Ashley would see this on her screen. The template drawer, we have many, many templates that are available, and we're always adding more, and we're always looking for more to add. So if you don't see what you like in here, please let us know, and we have a visual designer that creates these things for us every single week. So it's very easy to add to this drawer. So a couple common problem-solving exercises that we see during these events would be maybe a fishbone or a 5 whys. So if I wanted to add these, I simply click, drag, and you can see it's in the workspace now. Same with my fishbone. Click on the page, and now we can go in and we can start to do this exercise. Now, one last thing to show you before I let you go. Let's say I wanted this fishbone to be below the fist of 5. What I would have to do is go to my selection tools, click on the template, see this little lock icon, unlock it. Now I can move it around again. I'll move it to a different page, go back to my context menu here, and lock it back to the background. So hopefully you found this helpful. Again, it's not a complete training on how to do everything in Hoylu, but the goal, as I mentioned before, was just to give you a sense of what a PI planning workspace could look like. And if this is interesting to you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have a customer success team that would be more than happy to work with you and help customize one of these workspaces to fit your team's needs specifically. Thank you.